Welcome to ESG On Tap. We're here to celebrate all the great work that's been done in ESG over the last few years, to look at the improvements and the opportunities going forward, and also to look at challenge areas and ways that we can improve.
So what better place to be than the Occidental Hotel, where people come, talk about their achievements, talk about their success, and then also brainstorm how we can do it better.
In this podcast series, Anthony and I interview business leaders across different verticals, and we learn so much valuable information, things that most people don't know about ESG.
So what's next? Lauren's going to pour me a beer and we're going to start talking.
We have with us Nicholas Guest, who is a partner at HLB Mann Judd. Welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you, and pleasure to be here.
So tell us a little bit about HLB Mann Judd.
HLB Mann Judd is a accounting and advisory firm with a national presence. I'm based here in Sydney, and we have about 200 odd staff working with us. And we service a wide range of clients from SMEs through to large multinationals, ASX listed and the not-for-profit sector, providing a range of services from tax, audit, financial advisory services through to other ad hoc risk services and a growing focus on the ESG sector.
So let's go a little bit deeper in that. What are you doing for your clients in the ESG space?
Our clients have a wide range of needs in the ESG, and some of them aren't even aware yet of how ESG is going to impact on their business or on the importance of their business. And there's I guess a range of journeys which those clients have undertaken, are about to undertake, or in the process of undertaking there. And when we think about ESG, there's obviously multiple elements to that, and I think it's fair to say in the accounting and advisory space that the E in the ESG has gained greater focus recently with the impending implementation of the mandatory climate-related disclosures, which are going to impact on a large number of organisations who must prepare and lodge financial statements.
So with the type of markets, where are you seeing the greatest need where you're providing the advice?
On the specific climate-related disclosures and the impact of carbon measurement, we're seeing two distinct sectors. One is the largest organisations within the economy who are embracing the need to mandatory report their carbon, which is going to be captured under regulatory standards. At the other end of the spectrum, we're seeing many of our SME clients who are in the supply chains of larger corporates, whether they be the larger retail or operators within the construction and infrastructure sectors, who are being asked by their clients or customers in the supply chain to provide carbon-related and other ESG information to enable those larger organisations to meet their reporting obligations.
So other than your organisation, do you think they need further support or consideration when a lot of these elements are there introduced into the market? Absolutely.
So I think it's fair to say that most SME organisations tend to be resource constrained internally. They have multiple regulatory obligations already being placed over them, whether it be around OH&S compliance, whether it be about financial taxation, other compliance, without even thinking about meeting their day-to-day obligations of delivering great service and products to their clients. Overlaying that with ESG measurements or reporting on any aspect, these organisations need a huge amount of support to first understand what is expected of them from an ESG disclosure perspective, and then being able to obtain that information efficiently within their business and be able to report that in some meaningful way.
And so what are the challenges the non-for-profit sectors are having?
The not-for-profit sector, so they typically face that resource constraint, and they typically will differentially invest their finite resources in the impact for their key stakeholders. So what their key mission may be of that not-for-profit. So again, bringing in another reporting or compliance obligation, which some organisations see ESG as, they're facing those constraints. Where we're trying to turn the conversation and say, well, there's actually some real opportunities for you and to fully embrace ESG. And let's be fair, most not-for-profits are quite aware of the S and the G components of ESG. Their social mission, their impact is largely focused on those social and governance obligations. Where they find the challenges is being able to pull this together in a concise strategy and how that fits with maybe their wider organisational strategies, where that might fit with their key mission, key purpose of their organisation. And again, you may be talking to organisations who have largely voluntary boards, who have an awareness here. They may have limited internal management resources, and we are trying to embrace and talk to these organisations about how they can efficiently and effectively look to embrace ESG.
So just moving on what you're just talking about around the non-for-profits, that's very much around how they're impacted about their own reporting and all those type of things. And they're very strong on their S and their G. And you've got your SMEs and you've got your enterprise customers that obviously have done a lot of good work over the years dealing with the E, and it's all been just very much centred around the environment. Do you think the large multinationals and the SME market's doing enough to help the non-for-profits in the S? Is there more room to expand to get that assistance for the non-for-profits from the larger organisations?
I think if you ask CEOs, management within the not-for-profit space, they're always open to wider support from the for-profit community. And I think there's good opportunities for the for-profit and the not-for-profit to work closely together. Potentially there's an opportunity for some of the not-for-profit or for-purpose organisations to be able to support some for-profits in helping those organisations meet their greater social responsibilities as well.
And so there's also be an obvious tax advantages from the multinationals and the SMEs supporting non-for-profits too, with any sort of advancements in technology to help them become more efficient as well. So there'd be a fairly good financial benefit as well to be played out there.
And possibly there could be. And I think if you were to continue down this line, in a not-for-profit organisation being resource constrained, if there's opportunity for them to access services or benefits from a for-profit which can help enhance their delivery of their core missions and purpose, that could be welcomed.
And that would help with the involvement of ESG, because you can move the E a little bit more across other than just environmental. You help with the social as well.
Yeah, quite possibly. And I think you touch on a very good point here, that it's easy to talk about ESG as a compliance obligation, or it's something that organisations just need to do. Whereas if we step back and think about what are these core principles trying to direct, and that's trying to encourage us as a society and organisations to take action which is going to be more environmentally sustainable or have greater social benefit. So again, not-for-profits are probably really comfortable and knowing what their social impact is, and they're really focused on delivering more of that social impact. If there's opportunities to partners with others to help them enhance doing that, that's going to be great for our overall purpose.
So we've talked about not-for-profits, but if we look at now the small to medium companies that maybe want to embark on this journey, but they might not have the money to invest. You did say that they have to look at their customer service and their costs, and costs are rising. So what are some things that you recommend to your customers who really do want to start on this journey but don't have a huge amount of cash to throw at it?
Yeah, it's a really valid question, and it's one that we receive on a daily basis. Sort of where do we start? And typically this may come from a business who have gone to re-tender or for a customer opportunity, and they've been asked a question by their potential customer: what is your ESG strategy? And naturally they may call us as their accountant to say, hey, what's this? What do I need to do? Our first point of call to them is find someone internally within their organisation who has an interest in ESG, or potentially may have an interest in ESG. And sometimes that can be a relatively junior member within their team, and get them to start to do a landscaping activity, and discussing someone with, like, their accountant is probably a good point. There are an emerging number of technology applications which are available to organisations which can help them undertake an assessment of across the ESG criteria to find which aspects are going to be more important and impactful for them as an organisation and their stakeholders. And this can even range down to being able to undertake an initial carbon measurement of their organisation, which doesn't necessarily need to be a hugely complex exercise in order to establish a baseline position. So asking the questions, doing some initial research, talking to their external advisors is probably a good starting point.
Are the metrics that we measure ESG by within small, medium companies the same as what we do with the large companies, or do you look at them a little bit differently?
We look at them from a similar lens. ESG is scalable. It starts with understanding your organisation and who your stakeholders are within that organisation and what are their interests and impacts. So necessarily it is scalable, and I think the community expectation on a larger corporate organisation rightfully is different to a smaller SME organisation. And so yes, the smaller SME organisation may face the same range of issues across an ES and G, but rightfully their response may be different and scalable. And I think for any organisation, the first step is to recognise what stakeholder expectations are of them as an organisation, and then think through which of those should be a priority to start to address, and how can they address that in a potentially efficient and meaningful way.
Have you seen any negative impacts on small and medium companies who aren't addressing ESG? You did mention about, they go to tender and people want to know their approach, but is there anything physical that you've seen, any financial impacts to businesses?
There is probably two main impacts which we've seen, and these are probably largely driven by inaction or lack of awareness by senior management or business owners in the ESG space. The first one is not understanding the potential impact on their internal staff. Staff of an organisation are one of the key stakeholders. We observe that many organisations are in a talent short environment. So being able to attract and retain key employees is hugely valuable to organisations. And what we find from our own personal experience is that our organisation employs a lot of younger staff, and they tend to be more embracing of ESG and have an expectation on us as an organisation that we are taking action. So being able to attract and retain talent is hugely important. The second aspect is, as I mentioned, is when they go to, an organisation goes to tender for new information, or they have expectations from a customer, that quite quickly there's a changing expectation. And probably the third area is in relation to access to debt. We're seeing that even some of the major banks now have an increasing expectation on their borrowers that they've got in place a strategy to address ESG. It may not be that they're taking necessary action, but from a risk perspective, we're seeing the banks are needing to cover off their own governance requirements and passing on that expectation to their borrowers.
So, this has been an eye-opener for me, because I didn't realise how important organisations like HLB Mann Judd, because you're basically change agents for the whole evolution of ESG, because you've got the power to influence not only the multinationals but the SMEs and the non-for-profits, and also solving those problems so everyone's on equal footing. How do you become more relevant in this story? What needs to change? What pedestal do we need to get you on? What spotlight do we need to put on you? Yeah,
look, I think for a long time accountants have been a point of trust for businesses and organisations. We do that across tax, often around OH&S, assurance, financial advice. So naturally, the way that ESG is following out is it is becoming a key stakeholder issue. So business owners, business managers, and often a first port of call is to their accountant. So the challenge is for us as well as an organisation to be able to upskill our staff internally to be able to assist our clients. So yes, we see ourselves as a gatekeeper and an advocate, a change agent, an advocate for our clients to be able to digest the rapidly evolving information and landscape to be able to assist them.
But also you can share learnings. So you're getting rid of a lot of learning curves, so you can actually help a lot more.
Yeah, and it is a very steep learning curve. But what we're discussing with our clients and again internally is that we're all in this together. We're all embracing on this journey. Yes, some of the larger corporates are ahead and they've had the resources to invest and making great strides. We're trying to take some of the learnings from that environment and be able to disseminate that and share it with across our client spectrum to make sure that we don't see any of our clients inadvertently miss out on the opportunities that are presented to them, but also making sure they don't put themselves and their businesses at risk by not taking some action now that's going to ensure that they're going to continue to be successful for many years to come.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. It has been an absolute pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you, and it's been great to talk to you.